Hi, folks. Welcome to Your World with Prakash Kapila. Today, our topic, we have a very interesting topic today. Recently, there is a midterm elections in US, and it was supposed to be a bad thing for Biden because a lot of Republicans, a lot of people were expecting that there is a Republican wave, and he would be, beaten down in House as well as Senate. So with us, we have one of the politically very active persons, Satish Garmella Garu. He has been, I will let him speak about his legacy. He is the first Telugu person who is a councilman in North Carolina. Sir, please tell about yourself to our viewers and your legacy, everything that
Okay.
interests you.
Thanks, Prakash, and thanks for having me. And it's my pleasure. My name is Satish Garamella. I'm on the Morrisville Town Council. I'm the first Indian-born elected American for the state of North Carolina.
Congratulations.
It's been my 8th year that I've been doing this. And I love what I do because it not only helps me understand the politics that goes on, but also help our community. My community is almost 40% Asian population, and with that comes a lot of responsibility, a lot of issues. So I'm well connected with all the branches where we can, with immigrations and others, like even with the police and the counties, to see what we can help with the community. So I'm glad, to talk about the midterm elections and other stuff. So it is amazing that, and it's the right time that you're talking about this because we are all excited, and every night the polls are changing.
Yeah.
It's such a close thing, and it's pretty exciting to talk about it.
Awesome, great. So without much ado, let's jump into the political debate right now that's going around in US about the midterm elections. So what is your take? What happened in midterm elections?
I agree with your first statement too, right? We thought the Republicans will sweep the entire midterm, and that was kind of a given. All the pundits were talking about it. And so we thought that's going to happen, but it is very surprising that we can literally correlate some of the Senate races, take Pennsylvania and others where we thought were clean shot, were the Democrats won, and I was doing some analysis of all the races, take it Arizona, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Georgia, Nevada, and it's actually I would say, if at all, it's the Trump, which basically Trump and those candidates did not really win any of the things. And today there was a big statement from one of the secretaries, and saying that there's two things: there's Trumpism and there is Republican Party. So the Trumpism guys, whoever the people who supported, they didn't want to certify the elections, and take for example Arizona, the guy basically said he didn't want to do it, Mark Haley, and he lost the election to, and that was a big news because we didn't expect Mark Haley to just win like that, but they had dug their own graves, to be honest. And now it's all the eyes are in Nevada, so it's less than 500 votes, and where especially you look at Georgia, they thought it was a clean sweep for Republican, and now it's going into a runoff.
Yeah.
So that is one factor, and there are several other factors. I will be more than happy to go one by one on those things. But
yeah, please, yeah. So to interject, for those who don't know what runoff means, in Georgia there is a law that states that if any incumbent doesn't get 51% of the total votes polled, that means if out of 15 people, 10 people voted, and you should get at least 6 votes. So if no contestant gets more than 51% or 51% or more, then there will be a runoff. So there were 3 contestants, and only 2 contestants will do the runoff because the third person got very less voting.
And yeah, and to add to that also, like, right, like, it's less than when it's very low, where when the margin is very low, one of the candidates has a right to call for a runoff. He has that right to do it, so that to recount or even basically do it. Like, especially many a times, I'm expecting a recount in Nevada. If it goes to, like, a 2-digit or 3-digit vote margin, so that's going to happen. So I don't think the elections will be very close, because you look at the Senate, all the Democrats need is only 1 more, and the Republicans need 2, which actually is very good for the Democrats, because I personally, I feel that will, if the Democrats win the Senate, it will open up a lot of things, because from last 2 years, all the ambassador appointments and all those things are stuck. So I'm expecting to get new ambassador to India, and all the other countries which have been already told, but they need Senate confirmation. And if the Senate has a Democratic majority, those things will be very quickly done, and that's kind of good, because we need representation of the new ambassadors going all across the country, all across the world. Yeah.
So to take one step back, so why this red wave was expected was because there are a lot of things that went bad for Biden, at least in the public view.
Absolutely.
One was the inflation. It was going at 9 before the elections, like 2 months before elections, it is 9%. Now it has come down drastically to 7%, but still the inflation, because of that inflation, the interest rates were kept rising every time. It was like 75 basis point, which means 0.75% increase. So like that, they did 4 times the same thing. So it came down, it's now around 4.25% is the interest rate. So this is from 0 to that level, right? From this level to that level in a very quick span, it happened. So that is one thing that shocked the whole economy and the market. Absolutely. And people who don't understand inflation, the low income earners who will be more affected because of this inflation. The food prices increase, the milk increase, gasoline increased. Gas means petrol, right? People go to work, 2 to 3 jobs. You just can't walk. Only people in the metropolitan areas like New York City have the luxury of not using the car, but otherwise, wherever you are in America, you have to use the car. Car is your legs.
Exactly.
So with those things, and also because of a Russian war, Russian-Ukraine war, and China, UAE, India, on the other side of what US wants to have them, like they wanted all these countries to boycott Russia, but it's evident that they have not. So with this kind of background, inflation, Russia war, and losing the influence over the other countries, the soft power, right? The soft power is what is more important for America or any other country, and that soft power is perceived as being lost because the countries thought that aligning with America is not good for themselves, whether it's China, whether it's UAE, whether it's India.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you bring a lot of points. So let me go double click on each one of them, right? So let's take Ukraine, for example. I talk to a lot of the population and like my American friends, right? Like it is a very strong sentiment, because US is one country who doesn't like dictatorship on the other side, because they're obsessed. If you see North Korea before, So now they are not happy with what Putin is saying because they're worried, like, he's going to Ukraine, he went to Crimea before, and what would we go to the other countries? So the people, the American people, are ready to take the hit on the gas or other areas because they just don't want any dictatorship. And Biden was very smart in maneuvering this, like by saying it is a threat to the democracy, and the Congress came together, and I think they've spent billions of dollars in giving in arms and other things, and giving the logistic support, in terms of satellite positioning or the arms and which are needed to counter Russia. So they are with the people, with the Ukrainian people, and so when I asked one of my close friends, he says, "I'm ready even if the gas price goes $10, that I am ready to take the hit as long as the Russia is put under control." So that's one sentiment, and yes, so the gas prices are certainly gone. Along with the gas prices, being in the city council, like all our beds and everything, the cost of it has gone up almost 20%. It is affecting the people, the blue collar jobs, because they have a fixed income, they get $15, $12, and when they're paying twice the gas price and the cost of the food, it is certainly hitting them. But the only thing that is really holding them is they don't want a dictatorship to basically take control. And that's a sacrifice that they're doing, But also on the other end, let's take it, right? You're right. The Biden administration failed in having like a contract with OPEC to keep the pump the gases. So they in turn started increasing, basically putting our reserves into the economy so that the gas prices can come lower. So they tried it, and for a small period of time it was successful. But then recently, when they lost that contract again with OPEC, the gas prices have climbed again. But the main thing I would also say is Roe versus Wade. That played a very big role.
Roe versus Wade. Okay.
Yeah, because that the Supreme Court of India recently said it is the woman who basically has a right to do everything, and that
Supreme
was
Court of USA, right?
No, the Supreme Court of India recently made this call, and it would have been smart if the U.S. Supreme Court had done the same thing. But sometimes I feel like the Indian policies are much liberal and more pro. We have a woman president, we had a woman prime minister, but when it comes to U.S., we still don't have a woman president here. So
Right.
and that ticked off a lot of people because no one likes someone, the government, dictating how the woman's body should be used, and that brought a lot of young voters in, and that was a big change in the vote bank. I have been doing polls for almost now 10 to 12 years. The amount of lines that came in early voting, it was all young voters who were pretty mad of how things are going on, and they just did not like it. So that was one of a big factor of why the turnout was pretty good, and that actually favored Biden, because he pretty much, you can say, he did not challenge it. He used it as a weapon to get his vote bank and his people mobilized.
Yeah, that's true. So to summarize, even though the gas prices have increased a lot, the petroleum reserves were pushed into the market, so that the price that has increased will come down because of demand supply. You give more supply, the demand is met, and the price doesn't increase. So like that, they have reduced the strategic reserves quite a bit, and they asked UAE if they can, OPEC, if they can increase the production. OPEC said they won't increase any production. So the strategic reserves helped a little bit, but then again the prices started.
And also the other thing is also, like, during the Trump era, they canceled the Paris Agreement for climate change. and people here are very, very, particular about the climate, especially the younger generation. They care about the environment, they care about the things. So like Biden stopped all the, oil rigging, drills and other things which they had the permissions to do it. So in that way, to protect the environment is a critical piece that attracted a lot of the young people, and that helped them, to steer some of the votes. And the other thing is like, the loan, waivers, that thing, under a certain amount of dollars that helped too. So there are several things. Bottom line, I would say is like, he was able to mobilize the young voters. And he was able to say, this is a war against democracy when it came to Ukraine. And the Trump actually did not help any of the Republicans, because if they had gone on an alone, like, as a true Republican, they might have won. But if you're looking at the trend of all the people he has nominated and who actually basically said that they would not certify the elections of the 2020, they pretty much are lost the election too. So several factors that played in his favor, in spite of the economy being so bad and the inflation rate so high.
So overall, how do you rate Biden's presidency? Is Biden getting more stronger, or he's more weaker? I mean, going and coming into the elections, he was perceived more weaker, and after the elections, I mean, from a local intra-US perspective and international perspective, give us your thoughts about Biden's presidency and what we overlooked in Biden.
Yeah. See, Biden has been in this field for several decades. So yes, he's getting older, but he knows how to maneuver the things, and he has good people around him. We have one of my close friends, Ronnie Chatterjee. He's in the White House advising on economic policies and other things. He's a Duke law professor, and so I know several people in the White House who work very hard to come up with nice policies. The head of like NSA is an Indian guy, who is really helping with all the science projects. So Biden has appointed key people, key Indian people in many of his administrations who are giving him good advice, along with all the others, who are doing. But it's would he be a good candidate for next election, right? That's $1 million question everyone is asking about. So it all depends on who the opponent is. I would say if it is Trump, then Biden is a good candidate, because Trump has a lot of values that he comes up with. But if the Republican Party picks DeSantis, who has actually just won the election, landslide election, and who would be a good fight, and he doesn't come with a lot of baggage, and the Republican Party put their pressure against him, then I'm sure he will give a big fight to Biden. And also, like, to be honest, I cannot see any leader on the Democratic Party who would replace him right now. Pete Buttigieg is the closest that could be, but I don't know if he's there yet. The sentiments are, Kamala Harris might not be a nominee for the president too. So it all depends, like if it is actually good for Biden if Trump is an opponent, because then it becomes easy, because looking at the trends of all the election right now, so it will favor him. But if DeSantis or someone else comes in, then the true Republicans are coming, because many of the Republicans didn't even show up to the polls because they were Trump nominated, and they voted Democrat too. So the trend here is pretty high, and the sentiments are pretty strong. So we are just looking at who the Republican nominee would be, and that would.
This is within the U.S. perspective of President Biden. what do you think people overlooked in the international arena?
So international arena, right? Like, see, U.S. is it depends on the policies, right? Like we are not doing that great at different things, but US has been a great ally to India, and those relations are becoming stronger. But the Indian government was very clean in how basically talking of why they were taking oil from Russia because for the needs and this one, and it is a very rare that they allowed it. The U.S. government understood, like, India is a very close ally, and they need oil. And the previous like over the decades, the relationship with Russia with ammunitions and other things. So it was a business thing that they knew, like they're taking it not for to basically censor, but for their own needs of the people. And so every country has to has to protect their own interests. So India was doing in that way, and US was like US bureaucrats understood that, but it didn't fit very well with the US people because the press reports were pretty bad that everyone other than India and China are siding with Russia. So I had a lot of people coming and talking to me, why is it happening? So it took me a long time to make them understand it's not for any other reason. It is just the survival of the fittest. And it is. And the inflation, if you look at it, the dollar has gone up highest that we have ever seen. It's almost touching 83 to $85. And that is hitting it's again, like these are the soft things, they understand, but the dollar price is going up so high, which is not good for India either, because for anything they buy, they're almost putting 15 to 20% more money.
So, with regards to China and US, did Xi Jinping underestimate Biden? I believe that with the Taiwan fiasco, Nancy Pelosi going there and reassuring Taiwanese that US is going to be there, that was a shocker. I mean, people thought that.
Yeah, actually, that move, this issue has been going on for a long time. Like the South Sea, who has a monopoly on it, and the Southern Fleet of the U.S. Navy, which is continuously there, has been deployed. And when Nancy Pelosi made that call and they went there, China didn't like it, but U.S. is something who doesn't care about any threats, for the integrity, and she did, and it was very well taken from the U.S. people, because it was like a historic move. You had the entire Southern Fleet and aircraft carriers protecting. It was a show tell, you can say. So to tell China, hey, it's place that, hey, you're not the big daddy in the race. So obviously, China is, like the US is still heavily depending on China for its supply chain. And that's one thing that worries me, because you take cars, you take anything, the chips, a lot of now things have developed, especially the $1 trillion infrastructure that has been put in place. In next 2 years, that money will start trickling for the 2024 election. That helps Biden a lot, because you'll see the money going to the states, you'll see the progress, you'll see a lot of people getting jobs with that money, and so that is something which are people doing that has not been done since Eisenhower. That amount of money putting into infrastructures,
right?
So that's
been like 60 years. 60
years exactly. At that time, it was the recession that caused that Eisenhower to do that. Now this is like putting back $1 trillion, and that's a lot of money. And every town, my town, is getting benefited with those money, ARPA monies, and especially the COVID. Right, they pump a lot of money to the states, to the towns, to recover back. Because we lost a lot of businesses, a lot of businesses went down. So giving small business loans, waiving, PPPs and other things. he was lucky in one way because it was towards the end of the pandemic, and but he didn't take that lightly, and he activated the right things. So the economy, I feel, over the next 2 years will boom back again, and that would help the Democrats, and Biden if he's the nominee for the presidential election.
So will your party get the next president then?
I'm sure, he will. It all depends on the other person, right? As I said, if it is Trump, I'm sure that Biden and Democrats, they will win. So like what used to be 2 years or 3 years ago, anything that Trump blessed was like a de facto winning. But looking at all these races, Pennsylvania, Arizona, in Georgia, Wisconsin, those are like sure shot wins. We lost, like being from North Carolina. I feel a little sad that we lost like a close Senate race. Sherry Beasley was bound to win, but she concentrated more on the healthcare and the cost of Medicare and other areas. But she did not, talk about the economy. And his opponent was very smart in talking about the gas prices, the cost of inflation, and those areas, and that he was able to mobilize the blue collar jobs to vote for him. And that actually did attract, how you marketed it. She lost the election, but we were expecting that she would win. And those are the kind of things where, where the people are closely watching if the gas prices is important for the blue collar jobs. And I feel if we can ease that economy back, and with the infrastructure, money flowing into the states and federal, the economy will bounce back.
Awesome, sir. It's really like 30 minutes past like this, and we're still not done yet.
Yeah.
So overall, you say Biden is becoming stronger?
I would say, I would say Trump is making Biden stronger. I wouldn't put it that way. I would like that. The election clearly has shown, all it has become a trend. What he endorsed, they're losing. And so, if he had not touched his hand, Biden would have been not stronger. So it is a blessing to the Democratic Party, I would say.
Okay. On this note, thanks a lot for sharing your ideas. And regarding Trump and anti-Trumpism, that's another show.
Okay.
Promise that. Okay. Nice talking to you, Satish Garu.
Okay, absolutely my pleasure, and thanks for having me, and thanks for all the good your network works on.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Bye.